glad that you're all here and super excited about Jeff's masterclass today. I can tell you a little bit about what we are and what we're doing here. So this is a project of the Next Festival of Emerging Artists. And this is a festival that was started 8 years ago to help students in the early parts of their careers navigate the early, making a career in music and all of the different pieces of the puzzle that takes. So when the pandemic hit, we wanted to step up and help our family, which includes our artists, our audiences, and our students. And this is part of what we're doing. We're holding twice weekly master classes and talks for all of you. It's a free service to our community. And we would love to keep on doing this. If you're able to make a contribution of any amount, please do that. I'll send you a link in the comments. And without further ado, I'd love to get the masterclass underway. Jeff is an old friend of the festival. He was our guest artist in 2015. And it's really, really a great pleasure to have him back. So take it away, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. And I have so many warm memories of my experience with the Next Festival. So I'm really a proud member of the family, and I'm really excited to hear all of the performers today. So I think that we're going to begin with the Mario Lavista work. This is a new piece for me, so I'm very excited to hear Rocio's performance. Beautiful, beautiful. Bravo, bravo. I love all of the colors and um, the sounds that you're making. It's a really it's a beautiful piece. I'm like I mentioned earlier, I'm not familiar with it, but it's a wonderful discovery for me. So thank you for for your performance. And I think that on a technical level, you've figured it all out. You know, you've deciphered where to be for each of the harmonics. It's kind of complicated, and you have to kind of swap fingers a lot, as you know. And although I did have, if we have a little bit of time later, I'd like to look at the Pew Colmo section on the end of the second or the middle of the second page. Um, it's fascinating writing the way that he swaps the trills. So I just I would like to have a little look at that. But to begin with, I think that the sort of the world that you're bringing us into, that you're inviting us into, is wonderful. I wouldn't change a thing, but I feel like within the world, you need to have much more sort of activity, you know. And I don't mean active like it urgency or something. What I mean is that if there's a crescendo from niente to forte, that's a very big gesture, you know. Um, Also, some of the tempo changes. I know there's like a meno mosso, there's a tempo primo, like these changes in timing, in pacing. I think could be much more vivid, you know. And so I'd like to kind of work on that a bit. Um, what are you sort of? Do you have an image in mind? Because I had an image in mind when you were playing, but I don't know if it's, I don't even know if it's the right image. I don't know if the composer themselves had an idea. Um,
Well, the first instruction that piece has is come un canto in lontananza flessibile. So that means a song in the kind of in the side thing. So I'm trying to, it's like I feel when I'm studying I feel I'm thinking of that trying to speak with someone, but I can't. I can't talk with them in front. They're very far, so what are my sound? It's what
mm,
I hear, like though that small, but sometimes more and then less. Um,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And so with that idea in mind, we have to think a little bit about how the air passes through, like the breath that we're using to create those sounds that we're trying to send it to, you know, the person that we're communicating with. And I feel like the that we might there, I kept on coming back to the image of like air, wind, almost like a chime, you know, and you know there can be sudden gusts of wind or sudden movements, but there's something very fluid about the natural world, you know. And I wondered if somehow can I just hear the opening gesture? And I would love to hear as much of that hairpin as you can muster. Yeah, I like that. I like that. The first one, it's like there's this wave, this gesture towards the middle. the second one, I think these dotted lines in the score, that also shows the phrasing, right? So, so it's like it's a little bit of a longer arc. Can I just hear the second gesture? Are you separating the that note?
Yes, those two. Since I was doing the ties, only the ties that are written, and
Mm-hmm.
doing the phrasing according to the dotted lines on the top.
Yeah, the problem is by separating that note, the I don't know, it's an A actually. The A kind of pops out a little bit when it's on the receding end of that gesture, right? It's not a, you know, they belong to each other in a
Yes.
way. So maybe, would you consider some, I don't know, I can't suggest a bowing, but is there a way that you can connect the A to the, I guess it's a B? Yeah. Is there a way to connect that?
Yes. Yes.
Could I just hear that second phrase?
Okay.
Yeah, and it's very good. Allow that note to last long enough that we hear the full value of it, right? And actually the same thing, you're doing a terrific job of those grace notes, but I just wonder, maybe they're sort of like a maximum speed
Yeah.
before they lose clarity. You know, harmonics are not clear. You know, it's just their nature to not be clear. So we have to, and they speak very slowly, right? So don't, I would suggest not playing the grace notes faster than notes are able to speak. And you may find from day to day, even weather to weather, like in very humid environments, the harmonics may speak even slower. So just give them enough time just so that you're able to have them come out a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, that's tough. Are you sorry, I can't tell over Zoom. Do you have your how are you playing the first finger after the fourth finger?
I put my finger on the side of the string because I have noticed if I put the finger over the string
Yeah.
on in harmonics, it um, shows.
Yeah, you know, you can hear it as well that sometimes that second note, the note on top of the F, doesn't speak. And a lot of that I think might be because of the wake of the fourth finger note, the A harmonic. I wonder if you might need, it's a little clunky, but maybe a little percussion is needed. So it's to cancel out the fourth finger in a way. Just to, so if you want to put it to the side, that's fine. But for me, it's better to hit it from the top. Yeah. You know, again, it's a grace note, so absolutely you want it to be as fast as possible, as you're able to muster. But because they're harmonics, we have this resistance built in to speed. So,
Okay.
you know, I would hit it a little bit.
Okay.
Hey, that sounded great. Yeah. So just the second gesture again? I feel like, you know, with this kind of notation, there's so much freedom, you know, um, and you're playing it very well. For lack of a better word, you are approaching it with discipline, so that's good. I like that. I like discipline, but I still think that it should be like a ba,
Okay.
you know, a 2-to-1 proportion,
Yes.
just right there. Last time. Yeah, all the more reason, right? Because there, or he reverses it. So whereas before we have right. So we need to bring out that proportion.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I lied. This is the last time.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if I don't know if this is appropriate, but uh, can it have a little bit more of a, um, you've reached a peak? I don't know, that some character. Good, good, good. Keep going. That was great. I like that. Good, good. Now, I think this might have been by design. Um, in later, I don't know what the proper term is, but you know the fermatas with the hat, and the latter ones you seem to take more time,
Yes.
which I liked. But I was wondering why you don't take much time here, because in addition to the hats with the lift, you also have a fermata.
Yeah. Um, in the notes of the indications from the piece, it marks there's two kinds of fermata in the piece. The ones that has the triangle hat,
Hmm.
they're short, and the ones with the box, they're longer. That's the reason why I did it that way.
No, no, no. I like the fermata.
Oh, okay.
So like if you look at the bottom of the first page,
Yes.
after the you took a long time there, which I thought was very nice. But I'm just wondering right here where we stopped at the end of the first line, in addition to that same fermata, you have a regular fermata.
Oh, okay.
Should you not also take a long time here?
Yeah.
I think so, right?
Okay.
Yeah. You know, this again, it's going back to the idea of like being out in the wind or something very wistful, like it's like whistling, you know. And so just kind of letting the sound exist in the air for a while.
Yes.
I think it's okay because you know what? We'll wait for you. You have our attention now.
Yes.
So whenever you're ready to go on, then you can go to line 2. Can we just try that maybe from the sedendo? Anywhere in there. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to mess you up. I was conducting along with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you could even like it's one of those funny. I'll let you in on a funny trick. Um, if you want people, the audience, to think that you're like in this wonderful deep zone, you can hold people's attention when you're there. But if you're sort of right, if you just hold it there, the listener's like, you have us in the palm of your hand, right? We're not going to get up from our seat and say, okay, she's done. I'm out of here. We'll just hold us there. Close your eyes. And then make a change. The change, we know that you're going on when you move again, right? So you don't want to, right? It changes the mood a little bit. So just last time, just even from the F sharp one, that one. It was great. That was nice. That's nice. Good. We're almost out of time. Can I I want to look at that Pew Calmo. But before I do, I just want to make one general comment. I think that the triplets, whenever you, can you, I think it'll sound better if you feel the impulse from the downbeat. And in the, in light of all the other eighth notes and 32nd notes, it's a very specific gesture. Yeah? Okay, good. Can you just quickly show me what, for the più calmo, can you just quickly remove the long note and only show me the trill note?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, so that third one, which note is being trilled? It's the upper two, right?
Yeah. And then,
And then say, and then, and then, oh no, the it's an E to the D.
yes.
Is that it? Okay,
The last one of the page is an E to the D.
right. And then it goes to the G to the B.
Yes.
Ah, okay, good. I couldn't tell, but it's an interesting, right, for everyone who's in the class who's wondering what we're talking about. The composer swaps which voice does the trill. So sometimes it's the lower and sometimes it's the upper. So it's very interesting. But he
Yeah.
writes also murmurando. Does that mean murmur?
Like whispering.
Whispering. Can I
And
hear that? It seemed a bit active when you played it through. Can you make it sound more like a whisper?
yeah, the other thing that I have there is that do the fingerings. Since I'm jumping, I am doing the most of the trills with thumb and another finger. So instead of changing, it doesn't sound so clear. And I thought that was kind of the character of murmur.
I, I have no comment on the fingering. I think your fingering works really well. I felt that it was more of a bow thing.
Okay.
Yeah. sorry, Rocio. I have a question, and I don't know the answer to this. So the upper line has a different dynamic than the lower line?
Yes.
Okay. And that's regardless of which voice is trilling.
Um, I think so. Yeah.
Can we try it once? So I guess so for the audience, that means that the lower note or notes is always a little bit stronger than the upper. Let's try it once and exaggerate that, please.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, you know what it is? Actually, Rocio, you know what it is? It's
What?
even harder than I thought.
Yes.
And I think I've opened up a whole can of worms and we probably need to move
Yes.
on. So I'm going to leave it as a sort of like, okay, I'm going to open this can of worms and it's food for thought. What he did, this is really, wow, this is really something. So the lower voice is always piano,
Yes.
always piano, sempre. The upper voice is pianissimo, but crescendoing.
Yes. And
Wow.
changing the text, changing the text from the side.
Yeah. I think you might need to figure out a way to feature that. I think probably what you need to do is start very softly on the upper voice, and as you grow, do your best to kind of voice the bottom voice down, right? So you don't let it get more excited. You keep all of the excitement on the upper note or notes. But that's a very tricky thing and a very exciting thing.
Yes.
I'm very sorry. I think we need to move on, but you sound terrific, and it's a really wonderful piece. You played so beautifully. I hope to one day hear the whole thing.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Jeff. This is so fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
It's there's a lot in that piece.
Yeah.
There's a lot to kind of mull over, and yeah, I apologize for opening a whole new can of worms at the end there, but that's composers do that sometimes.
I did like that you extended the metaphor and you said you opened a new can of worms and gave her something to chew on.
Oh.
So great. So we're actually going to switch the order of people so that that Jennifer will go next with the Britten.
Okay,
So I'll leave it to you.
terrific.
Hello.
Hello, Jennifer. So did I see correctly that you have the third and the fourth movements?
Yes.
Terrific.
Correct.
Okay. Excellent. Can we actually just talk about that first before we move on to the march?
Definitely.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. You know, this first of all, you're playing it excellently, and you know, the only things that I could add are more sort of hopefully. I hope that we can kind of add some vividness and HD, maybe some extra color. But the first thing I would say is that you know, for one movement, we have nothing but pizzicato. You know, we have to create an entire universe with without the bow, right? And you know, I think that well, first of all, I would recommend actually putting your bow down.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need the bow, and I think that you'll it'll kind of free up your right hand for everything that you need to do because it's a virtuoso piece. It's just without the bow. So the other thing is that I would encourage you to explore more colors across the spectrum of the string for pizzicato. I would imagine you probably already know this, but just for the sake of the audience, where would you want to, if you had an open string and you wanted the roundest, fullest, actually not even if it's an open string, where do you get the roundest and fullest pizzicato?
Probably in this like general range.
Mm. Why do you say that? What are some of the sonic properties that? Um,
Sonic properties. I mean, there's just more. I don't know. It's just usually do.
I mean, I agree with you that that's a really great kind of sweet spot. Like if you had a baseball bat, like where would you want to hit the baseball? Um, you know, there's like a sweet spot, right? And that's definitely a sweet spot area, which makes it a strong candidate. But is it actually the correct answer?
Um, I'm not sure now.
I know, because I phrased it in a way that it's like, what? Um, you're kind of right, right? And I think that you're kind of right because there is an actual mathematical Pythagorean correct answer, but yet on top of that, we add another layer of execution just for punch, basically. But the mathematical answer is that we always want to pitch at the octave, right? If you pitch at the octave, so if you're playing a G, you want to pitch right about there. Exactly, you always want to cut the string in half. If you cut the string in half, that is what I call the flabbiest part of the string. That's where you'll get the roundest sound. However, for projection, we tend to move things a little bit lower, right? Almost the same as with our bow, we move a little bit closer to the bridge. That's just for projection's sake. So you're actually correct, but the actual sort of textbook answer is at the octave. So with that in mind, I just wanted to establish that for a second. On the other end of the spectrum, you get a very kind of rigid sound if you get close to the bridge, right? There's one place, I don't have the music in front of me, but you have a lot of left-hand pits. And you know, uh, uh. What are the notes? So there's one of them where I actually pitch close to the bridge rather than doing the pitch back here, simply because this has the same property as this. So the sound changes as you get more towards the middle, and it gets more the same the further apart you go. Just for the sake of exercise, would you mind taking a moment to just, and just in your own room, listen to how the quality of sound changes?
Right.
Yeah? Yeah. So just the same as when we use our bow and we aim for different colorations, we also want to aim for different colorations here. So with that in mind, let's start from the beginning. So is this kind of like, is this day music or night music? Is this afternoon on the loggia in Tuscany? Is this early morning in the mountains? Is this ocean music? Is this under the full moon music?
I would imagine, I mean, it has sort of like a nighttime quality to it. I think.
Yes. I mean, okay, it's subjective, but I think you're right. I think that's correct. I think this is very, it's like the magic that occurs at midnight, right? And it's like you're playing the guitar. Yeah, I think that should, uh, how, it seems a little fast, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I only meant not the tempo. The tempo was good. Just the rolling. The rolling felt a little fast. Sorry.
Okay, yours.
Yeah. So even that one, we want that to be the same speed as that one. Yeah. We have to think like a guitar. You know, like where what are the animals with the horns and the goat feet?
I know what they're called.
Yeah, playing the guitar. Oh no, they play the flute. But you know, it's that kind of imagery. It's very magical. Yeah, it's a serenade. Oh yeah, and make that a very nice. Right. There's a rhythm there.
Right.
And especially because of this one, I highly recommend putting the bow down. What I do, if so, ideally you can go, you know, I always had a hard time with that. So what I do is I actually pluck the first three notes and then roll the last ones.
So it's not like one continuous motion down necessarily.
If you are able to do that, definitely do that. That's a much better solution than what I'm able to do with my technique. But the problem that I always had is that is playing the E flat right after the B flat, or sorry, the C right after the B flat. It's the turnaround has to be right in rhythm.
Right.
So you want it to sound like one gesture. Good. Yeah. Yeah. You want it to sound like you're playing the guitar and they just boom, boom, you know, just one gesture. One more time and going on. And the way that I like to cheat is I would recommend not rushing the first three notes. Because the more you don't rush those notes, the more time that you're giving yourself to play the thumb on the C. Right? That's the idea.
Right.
So then that's like the end of the introduction. Now the music begins. Are there dots on the eighth notes?
Yes, there are. They're
I
very small.
maybe it's just my own interpretation, but rather than playing the pits at the octave, at the roundest place on the string, it sounds very lovely, but I think that this isn't a lovely part, is it? It's kind of, so I actually pitch a little bit further down the fingerboard just to make it a little drier. Yeah, and there's a diminuendo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so a little bit more on the open. Again, this is very gestural music, so we want to make sure that the gesture is very clearly one gesture. Good. Right, and that note, I, you know, this is just me. I feel like that's the introduction of a new idea. Not idea exactly, but if you imagine there's like maybe something kind of creeping through the forest and it's like, wait, did I hear something? Okay, I can go on. And then, oh, sorry. It's like, oh, there's my friend. My friend the bird, or actually not a bird, bat. So it's night music after all. So for that note, I actually switch from these fingers to the thumb at the octave. Right? It creates a totally different color. Can you just try that? These little nuances will be very hard for the Zoom audience to hear, but if you try it in your room, you'll hear if you pitch the 16th notes here and then the thumb at the octave. Try that and tell me what you think. Right.
Nice.
It's a very different color, right? And you can even take a little bit of time because this is, again, the introduction of my friend, the pick your nocturnal animal. Oh, hello, raccoon. I don't know.
Just from there.
Sure. Beautiful.
Great. Should I go on?
Yeah. So by nature, because you're doing left-hand pizzas now, all of the left-hand pizzas are now have that more kind of tight sound, just by nature of where it is. So we have to remember that.
True.
Yeah. So this is where the discussion can begin. So the eighth notes, as much as you're able to maintain it, should be somewhere around here, right? No matter what's going on in all the other stuff, they're separate voices. And we have the one voice, there's that one, right? So perhaps Uh, maybe the D flat, E flat voice connects to that note. Or you can use your middle finger because that's a little fleshier than the first finger. Or the thumb.
Let's see, where am I?
And hold that for a second. Yeah, you can take your time before going on. Because again, there's all this activity going on in the forest, but there's someone asleep, right? We don't want to disturb them just yet.
Sure.
Good. And just for me, just because I don't have the music in front of me, on that spot right there, then you have an F sharp. And what is the next one? Is it an E sharp?
Yes.
It is. Okay, okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. Good. So that was that. Let's skip to. Uh, let's go from there again, and let's move on to the next section.
Okay. Sorry, from where?
Oh, from the.
Oh, right.
It was Jennifer, this sounds terrific. I wanted to let you play because it was sounding so good. I think that not having the bow in your hand has really freed up your sound and the color I was really craving from before get much vividly now. So that's excellent. Now, right where it came to that bit, it's like there's like a duple thing, right? It's like a four dun 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 dum bum bum. I think it should be a little bit slower, right? I think so. I'm sorry, I don't have the music in front of me, so I'm doing the metric modulation from memory. But even if it's not notated that mathematically, I think that whenever you go from kind of like a 3 to a 2 or a 6 to a 4, you want to, it's not just about having it be mathematically proportionally correct. There's like this war going on, right? It's like gravity. You know, you're fighting against gravity. And so, dum, bum, 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 you know, so you want to, in a way, you show that sense of gravity by pulling it slightly broader than maybe mathematically, metronomically written.
Right.
So could you try the run going up to the B flat again? And when you get to the top, feel it kind of rhythmically pulling apart more. That was good, but I wasn't sure about the notes. Isn't it it's like a whole tone scale going down, right?
Yes, essentially.
Essentially?
Yeah,
Could could we just hear those notes without the B flat in the way? Good. Okay. Good. It was
it's like
maybe
almost.
maybe not totally clear. So let's try it one more time.
Okay. With the B flat or without?
Oh yeah, as written.
Okay.
That's good. But dum bum 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 bum. Is that the rhythm?
Um, yeah, so it's just like four against. There's like four notes in that bar of 6/8 in the last bit.
I think I'm hearing the bum 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 bum. It's when the timing changes. Can you hold it back a second longer just so that the rhythm is clearer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds much more powerful, actually. So that's good. That's good. That's good. Um, let's keep going. We're almost done. So
Okay.
yeah. So right there, uh, it's a funny moment because of that A flat, or sorry, because of the C, we kind of come to a resolution that's unexpected. So let that sink in a moment before you go on.
Right.
Just right there. Yeah. And right there, I think that we're still not sure, but then I don't know what the notes are, but we have this moment of it's like there's a pedal basically. The D, it almost becomes this not a séance, but it's whatever the notes are, right? Allow it to kind of um, develop into what it is. I think that when it's right on the E flat, that's not exactly a beginning. Like it's not a very confident beginning. It's sort of, it still needs to get moving a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how can you just go from, yes, it's so good, but when you end up on the A flat, and we don't know if that's the end. And then, ah, right, then it resolves. So it wasn't like wrong what you did, but I think that we need to feel that kind of tension
Yeah.
and then resolution. Could you do it again from the run going up to the A flat?
Yes. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then, oh
yes.
yeah, no, 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 please do the whole thing. Just right there from the resolution. Oh, that was great. If you do it that way, the audience will be like, oh, that was so magical. We're enchanted, right? It's night music. We want to be enchanted by it. So, good. I'm sorry that we don't have enough time for the Marcia this time, but hopefully another time. Sound terrific.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thanks, Jeff. While we're
Well, we're
switching over to
switching over to
Hailey,
Hailey.
we had a question from somebody who's actually working on the Bourdon movement of this suite,
Hmm.
and if you have a second, she has a question about how to deal with string crossings and balance between the strings.
Uh, it's a very difficult movement. Um, Again, I don't have the music in front of me, but that's the movement with the drone D, and and then the all that stuff going on while you're holding the D. And what I would recommend, I studied this piece when I was working with Steve Doan, and I remember actually throughout the entire piece, but especially with this movement as well as the cantos, that he would stress the importance of hugging the middle string, right? So you're always kind of when you're playing on the G string, and then you'll have to hold, but you're always pivoting on that middle D string. So, um, so you have to kind of think of that D as its own independent voice going through. Is that correct? Is that the movement that they're asking about? I just want to make sure.
Not sure.
Not sure.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Okay,
Survey
good.
says yes.
I haven't played the Britten for a few years, so it's like to do it from memory. I'm like, ah. But what I would recommend, I'm a firm believer in kind of taking things apart. Like if you're a watchmaker, you want to take things apart before you put them back together again. And so for all of the different elements and all of the different voicings, practice them in what I call in an ideal way. Like if you weren't restricted by having to play all the other parts to, play that out of context, or also play so that you get a sense of what kind of a sound and gesture you're actually going for, so that in context you actually have that sound world in your ear. Um, so that's what I would recommend for that particular piece, because there are so many different voices on the A string, on the G, the pizzicatos on the low string, and then also the drone D. Eventually, you will get continuity, but at the early stages, I think it's okay to kind of address each individual voice as individual voices. But hug the middle string. Hug the middle string.
Middle strings need hugs too.
Yes. And
Great.
speaking of middle strings, middle voices.
Yes, middle voice. Oh, so good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. I have to admit, I have never heard the Rachmaninoff on viola,
Yeah.
but it kind of makes sense, because actually compared to other sonatas that have very notey piano parts, this we tend to do better with this. Cellists tend to do better with this sonata because the writing is higher than, say, Chopin or something like
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
But yeah, viola. I mean, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I guess we'll find out, right?
So, are we going to do is it the first movement or which movement?
Yeah.
First, okay, terrific. Terrific. Do you mind if we actually stop there for a time? I probably should have stopped you, you know, earlier, but I was so curious to hear how this part sounded on the viola.
Yeah.
I'd like to start our work at the beginning, but before we do that, I just want to ask a question about this passage we just passed because I just want to make sure because we may not get to it on the run. But I wonder. So I think we're reading off the same music. So we have the allegro molto on the top line, and then on the second line where the
Yeah.
instruments come in. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, da 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 dum bum ba on those measures. It's like the next to last, second to last measure of the second line.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Is there a way to actually shift? What note is that? That's a C sharp. Shift to the C sharp. Yeah.
Ah.
So that you're not like we don't hear that, but that you're kind of already there.
Yeah. Ah, yeah, I could go.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the same thing, and then it's probably four measures later. 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, we hear that slide on that triplet.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I got that off my chest.
Thank you.
Um,
I like that.
Back to the opening. You sound terrific, and it totally works on the viola. This is amazing. I love it.
Thank
Uh, just a question. This Borozovsky, do you know when the arrangement was made by chance?
Ooh, I'm a doctoral student. I should be doing my research.
That's your homework
It
then.
probably, earliest 20th century.
Oh, so
Around,
not too long after the premiere then.
yeah, probably.
Okay. Okay. Just curious. So the very one of the there's some um, dynamics and phrasings that almost seem counter to where we think the phrase is going. But I actually think that we need to do the marking. If we're going to, it feels like it musically wants to go to a downbeat, but there's a diminuendo. There's something very magical about the diminuendo, so we shouldn't crescendo when it's sort of like telling us to do the opposite. Along those lines, I think that the tempi are also very key. I feel like sometimes cellists don't always, um, you know, maybe we sort of gloss over some of the cellorandi and things, but there are certain things that I think it, like for example, the con moto. should be faster than the Allegro moderato.
Right. Yeah.
And it was this, but then I think that you took the Allegro kind of fast. And so, you were already in the con moto tempo. So like little differences like that, I think, I think they really work. I think they sound really good. So like going back to the very opening, it is very slow, but we should be in a tempo.
Okay.
I think it started a little too slow. We want to feel it in a very slow quarter note
Yeah.
pulse. Can I just hear that? Yeah. And I think most cellists probably start it on the D string. I do it on the A string.
Ah.
I mean,
Awkward moment.
there's something kind of vulnerable about it. If I start on the D string, it sounds, more beautiful and sung, but this is like, I feel like it's more emotionally insecure in a way.
Mhm.
Part of it too is that we don't want to start. We don't want to begin too confidently. So whatever fingering we use, it sounds a little like that's the opening instead of like something a little almost hesitant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that sounds great. I like that. But at the end of the note, vibrate all the way through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way through. I can hear the piano part in the background, and you have to vibrate all the way. So the dum dum bum 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 past that last note.
Okay.
And just be ready. Bum, 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 bum. Like the pianist will probably take a little time there. So it's a very long note.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Uh, 2, 3. You have to hold that at full value.
Okay.
I would just hold that. You're doing a very good job, but it's after the. It's very. Then something different, right? So
Yeah.
let's go from the something different passage.
Okay.
This is a big breath moment. I mean, it's already in quarter notes, but this is Like we feel the beat much more expansively, right? Like I would take a big breath here, actually.
Sing, please.
Oh, how about just from, sorry, so it's meno mosso and diminuendo. And as you get to the top, it's like, right, allow it to recede a little bit as you go to the top. Hold it. You have to hold it until you hear the piano go bum 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 bum. Then you go on. Can we try it just a smidge slower?
Sure.
And even maybe slower than you should end up doing it, only because I would love to hear more of the hairpins.
Okay, yeah.
And in fact, just for the sake of, I don't know, making the point, expand time on the crescendo and diminuendo. Pianissimo. Right, not da 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 dum. I mean, that's where the phrase is going, but it's a soft arrival.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important because then when you come into yeah da da, then it's more agitated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it, Peter. Too. Feel free to expand it on those hairpins because, right, we have the chromaticism, and I don't know if these are Rachmaninoff's markings, but I see dashes. Big two.
Okay.
You know, this is where you want to feel the time augment here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And actually, I'm seeing it's also pianissimo.
Yeah.
You know, the piano is playing a lot of notes. So pianissimo, it's not the same as a solo pianissimo, but as much of a pianissimo as you can get away with will allow you to expand your dynamic range. So don't I mean, you'll probably have to tell your pianist like at some point, and they'll hate it, and they'll hate you, and all that stuff. But I mean, if you're able to get down as low as you can for the softs, that'll only allow you to be more expressive in the peaks.
Yeah.
So let's go right here. So you see the 1, 2, the second line of the Allegro moderato. the last two measures of that second line.
Uh-huh.
The opposite. I'm sorry. It's the opposite. When you feel that it goes into more of an augmented time, it should sound broader. So that you want to soar. You don't want to push. You want it to soar.
Okay.
Exactly. And yada diminuendo, right? Because right there, you at a cello rondos.
Yeah.
So I would recommend um, taking a metronome and dictating to yourself a speed, because I think you're playing a little bit by what we're used to hearing, and I think that there's a lot of I don't know, there's a lot of creative fire to be taken advantage of by actually doing I mean, it's quite a difference. He even writes 20 metronome mark. It's like 20 different, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure that the Allegro moderato is too fast.
Okay.
Like maybe a lot too fast,
Yeah.
right? There's plenty of time for excitement. And also, the faster you play the moderato, the less exciting the con moto will be.
Right.
I think that should be a very clear change.
Yeah.
So, just for the sake of time, let's go to the con moto. And here, expand there. And then for these, I like them to. So as sort of like rhythmic as you can make them, but
Okay.
not foreground. They're actually kind of more like the engine within the piano. And then more lyrical there. So
Okay.
right on the con moto. But it's pianissimo, right? So it's okay. It's okay. I mean, you may feel that the piano overpowers you there. But I think that's okay. That's the trade-off, because you don't want to be too foreground. It actually wants to be more background. Now, the bar before that, I'm not a big fan of the harmonic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the peak of the entire first, the entire line.
Uh-huh.
Da, 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 yeah. You want to sing that though, yeah.
Okay.
For
I
my,
have.
for my taste, I think it's too fast. I think the Komoto is also too fast.
Okay.
I do it a ya-da-dum, da-dum, da-da-da-da, ya-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-dum, da-da-da-da. Oh, I was
Oh,
just breathing, sorry.
yeah. Oh, let me try that again.
And as long as you're stopped,
Yes.
you have a tendency to cut the dotted quarter notes short.
Yeah.
Da-dum, 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 da. sing them longer.
Okay, yeah.
Just know, I mean, not to the point where it messes up the pianist, but if you rush, your pianist might be unhappy.
Yes,
You have
yes.
like 17 notes to fit in that split second. So as much as space as you can give them, they'll be very appreciative.
Okay.
Good. So when you get to the da 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 da, I would expand there as well.
Yeah.
And this is part of the cool part. It dovetails a little bit. So da 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 da. Right, that's back to mezzo forte. Then back to mezzo forte. Bum 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 bum. And for the sake of time, we'll go on. But another thing, don't retard until your last note, right? Because that thing, bum 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 dun 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 dun. The piano still has another measure to go before the next section,
Yeah.
right? So you have to allow that arc to continue. Okay, so for the sake of time, let's go on to the next. Actually, you know what? I'm so sorry. Peter, did you give me the signal? Did I just totally? You
Uh,
gave me the signal like a
I,
long time ago,
I
didn't you?
did. I did, but
You did.
I'm having a great time. So
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot. So take whatever you want. We're
uh,
good.
let's just hear this final phrase, and then we could. That'll be a great way to to end. Can I stop you? You know, do you know on the cello version, the original version, where does the cellist play this melody? It's like it's in our middle register,
Right.
right? But you're in your lower register. I think you have to approach it a little bit differently. It feels a little active to me,
Yeah.
but maybe it could be a little simpler. Um, it feels a little pushy with time. Maybe
Okay.
something a little more airier.
Okay. Yeah.
And for me, you're playing it absolutely accurately. I think you should play it less accurately. Because on the downbeat, the pianist has the chord. You know, it doesn't have to be so even. It just has to be. It has to be steady, but not rhythmic. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
When you go for that note, don't worry about it. Partly because we don't want to worry about it technically. Also, musically, everything was kind of is going to that moment, and when we get to that note, we actually want to feel relief,
Yeah.
right? So it's like life. If we are like worried about something, It's like, and then we get there, we're like, oh, thank God, we made it. That's so, you know, it's like even if you nailed it, it's like the wrong feeling, right?
Yeah.
So even if if you miss it, just kind of, you want to instill the listener into a feeling of relief.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so the technical term for that is a shift slower.
Love it.
And it's already much better. Your left hand knows where to go. Your ear needs to go. Make sure your ear is the boss. But
Okay.
but the connection has to be made with your right hand. It's actually your bow that isn't engaging enough.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly. And let it just let it like a leaf in the air. Just let it kind of land. Yeah, do the whole phrase.
Okay.
Ah, you do that. There won't be a dry eye in the audience. That's good. That's good. That's terrific.
Thank
You, as a cellist, you have my blessing to play the rest of the piece.
you.
Good. Sounds great. Everyone sounds terrific. Peter, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was just like super great, super great. Thank you, and thanks to everybody who tuned in. And there's a lot of great stuff that we have coming up. On Thursday, we have Sarah Whitney doing a workshop, and then next week, Ralph Ferris doing a master class, and Tracy Friedlander doing a workshop, and then Matt Heimovitz is going to do a master class for us too. So it's cello heavy and cello
Yeah,
heaven
it's a
for
great
everybody.
lineup. Cool.
So anyway, thanks to everybody for stopping in, and hope to see you back soon. And Jeff, thank you so much.